Welcome to the Just Josh podcast.
Who the fuck is this guy? Hey, who the fuck are you? Huh? Who the fuck are you?
This whole thing is a little weird.
Never you fear, laddie buck.
How's it going, SNAXX?
It's going well, man. How are you doing?
Hey, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. We have a mutual friend. You grew up in the DC area, so you're not that far away from me, huh?
No. Yeah, I mean, I just say I'm a DC area guy just because I was born in Arlington and my mom worked in Alexandria, so I spent a lot of time in Alexandria.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, Javier, who is our mutual friend,
Right.
like, we played on a soccer team in DC, so I had a lot of DC friends because of that. And then, of course, I lived in Maryland through, like, middle school, high school. And so I kind of just, DMV in general was kind of just, like, where I was raised.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah, we do have a mutual friend, Javier, and I met him in college. He was one of my fraternity brothers, which is weird because I'm not really a fraternity guy, but I feel like ours was a little bit different. And there's this one time we were playing club, I guess, and I think he's a couple years older than me. So I remember we were playing. He's like, "Yeah, I'm not that good. I'm okay." And he gets out there and he like lights it up. I was like, "Dude, you're really good." I see you got your soccer jersey on. Is Man U, is that your team?
Yeah, I figured since soccer was going to come up, I've put my jersey on.
Hell yeah. People ask me, they're like, what's your favorite soccer team? And I always say Man U, because that's when they had Rooney and Beckham and everyone. It was just kind of like, the Yankees of soccer when I was younger. So I kind of always stuck with them. And then even when they left, I was like, I'm not going to give up on the team. I'm still going to watch them through and through no matter what. Do you get to watch any of the games?
Yeah, I'm pretty lazy about it, but I mean, I've been a Man U fan. I mean, soccer in general is like a part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my dad played professionally, and my brother plays professionally.
Wow. Oh yeah, is he with DC or no?
No, so my brother plays futsal now.
Okay, yeah.
Which is kind of, it's like the new sport that's kind of growing popularity right now in the world. But it's basically just like indoor soccer, but minus the walls. And he's on the U.S. national team for that. So, and he coaches soccer as well. And my dad played, in the 60s. So soccer is like a big deal in my family. And then also, as it relates to the band I play with, Red, Gold, Green, Red is a Man U fan. So yeah. Red watches all the games. Like, no matter where we are, like, we could be in Germany and the game's at, like, 4 a.m. Like, he'll get up at 4 a.m. and watch the game, and I'm not that committed.
Yeah, same with me. I love soccer. It was my favorite sport growing up, and I kind of wish, but it stinks because even nowadays I try and do, like, weekend pickup games, and I'm like, if I break an ankle or something, dude, I'm out for a couple months here, which I can't afford to do. How did you, growing up in DC, like, we have such a good music scene, even through the 70s, 80s, 90s, I feel like a lot of great influential bands where musicians kind of come from our area. How did DC music influence you getting into music and drumming?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a combination of, my dad also played drums, so, not like ever around me, but we always had like this old drum set in the house that I kind of beat around on. But then also, I always got into music. Like, my parents always listened to music, and I don't know, drums is just always something that like captivated me. And eventually I just decided that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah, it's really cool. You play in, I guess locally, I saw you doing a couple shows. I forget the name of the band. I have the thing here. Gordon Sterling, that's who it is, and the People. You play with them too. I checked out some of their stuff. Great band as well.
Yeah. That's a buddy of mine. Oddly enough, pretty much all the musical stuff I've been doing is because of working at Guitar Center.
Is that how you met him?
Yeah, so that's how I met him. That's how I met Red. That's how I met, pretty much everybody I've ever worked with in the last like decade.
Yeah.
Or longer. Not that I'm giving Guitar Center a shout out because I'm not. I buy from Sweetwater, but anyway.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, he's a cool, good guitar player, and then kind of all the members of the band are all just like for hire musicians, and you know, it's hard for us to do anything seriously because we're all in so many different projects. But when we do get together, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was actually at Guitar Center today. I just got my Fender. I just bought a new Fender up there, so I needed a wall mount. Yeah, when I was younger, I told myself I think my first guitar was it was probably a Fender Squier. It was black with like black marble and like gold trim everywhere. And it's a Squier, so it's not, the nicest guitar. It's a starter guitar, but it sounded great and I loved it. And I told myself if I ever had the money that I would go buy myself a real American Fender. So I finally had a Guitar Center sale, and that's the only reason I bought it through them and not Sweetwater, is because they had that like 2-year sale, like the 0% financing. I'm like, this will be as good a time as any. So I'm glad I got that. But
I mean, I'm not trying to, I don't want to talk trash about it. But
no, of course, yeah.
I worked for that company for a long time, and I mean, as a matter of fact, I was just there like not too long ago. I had to get a mixer, but see, the issue too is I don't even think it's just Guitar Center specific. I just think retail in general, like working retail in general, it's hard. It sucks.
That's why I.
Please be nice to those people because you don't understand how hard. If you've never worked retail, man, it sucks.
For the longest time being on tour, really the only job, because you have to supplement, even if you're in the band, it's like you have to supplement your income.
Oh, yeah.
And bartending and retail is really the only job I can get at home where they'll let me go out for 2 months and then come back and still have a job. So I definitely understand the how hard and difficult that can be. But it also actually, doing bartending actually prepared me a little bit for doing merch for bands, handling money, dealing with people, stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's funny, you actually kind of helped me pick out my drum set to a degree. Maybe not directly, but I had posted something a long time ago, and I was between the Tama and the Mapix, and I ended up going with the Mapix because I know you had the Saturn.
Yeah. Well, technically, the Saturn kit wasn't mine; it was my roommate's. But it was a kit that I was going to buy at one point in time. And he ended up getting it, so it kind of worked out. I was like, "Oh, cool!" So now I kind of have that kit too.
Yeah. You definitely saved me some money, though. It sounds great. I got the great color that I wanted, and I saved some money because the Tom is great, but I'm not a pro drummer. I think if I was on tour playing, or at least playing live shows locally, I would have. But the problem I had, and I bring it up because I'm setting up the studio, and with COVID, obviously, we had a producer, but with COVID, we're not going to have him in. So she left and went on to other things. So I'm getting another one, and half of this is a studio where I can, record stuff, and then half of it's like the podcast, or like when I'm doing management, this is my desk, and I'll sit here. And it was annoying because I kept having to take the drum set out and then bring in the podcast stuff or the other equipment, and I had to keep. So I finally just said, fuck it, and I turned the drum set into the producer table and put the table over the kick drum where the snare is. So now I can have the producer doing all the stuff, and just lift off the table and then start playing the drum set. I actually kept the kick drum there so you could play it while you're doing the producing, but I'd rather them not. But
yeah.
You're in the area. Have you heard of Sheffield? Do you know Sheffield? Do you know anyone that's been there?
I've recorded there.
Yeah. I was going to say almost every single sound guy I've met on the road, whether it be mid-level bands or even some national bands, a lot of them have come from Sheffield. And they're who I've recently reached out for because I'm like, I can't necessarily pay anyone to come in here. But if they saw the big picture and they understood that, if we work hard, we can get picked up or we can at least monetize, to make this worthwhile. So I've been getting a lot of interns from them. So shout out to Sheffield. Thank you, Jared, over at Sheffield, because he's been sending me guys to help. This might be a weird question because I don't really know the history 100% of Red Gold Green and in the sense of you joining and everything. I assume you've known those guys a long time, like your whole life. No. Okay, it's a newer thing.
So yeah, going back to again the Guitar Center thing. I worked at Guitar Center for like a while, but I started there in like 2006, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so before Red Gold Green was a thing, they were a band called the 5-1. So there was a fourth member, Blue, who played drums and also rapped as well. And they kind of like used to switch instruments, and like they would do shows where like Green would play a few songs on drums and then Blue would rap and so forth. So anyway, long story short, Red ended up working at Guitar Center. And at that time they were transitioning into becoming Red Gold Green. And I could have probably played with them from the beginning, but I was doing some other projects in DC, so I kind of was just like, I'm going to focus on that. And then, next thing I know, they're on Jimmy Kimmel, and like, this I Love Lamp comes out, and it's like on DC 101, and and all this stuff starts happening. And it's like, oh, Dave Grohl just played drums on our album. Like, it's just like all this crazy stuff happening. And so I just reached out to Red, because I was playing with this other project, and I was like, hey, we're trying to get going, and I know you guys are going to do your first like headline DC show. We want to open it. And from that conversation, it kind of progressed to me playing in the band, and pretty much like the show after that show, I was the drummer.
That's crazy. That's a cool story, because one of my questions was kind of, because I wasn't sure exactly when you joined. So it was like, how crazy is it that you are playing drums? Now, I'm sure you mix it up a little bit and have your own style or do things, whatever. But it's kind of cool that you can say, like, Dave Grohl also drummed on the band that I play for, and I also get to play those songs as well.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it goes without saying. I mean, anybody who plays, if you ever played rock drums of any kind, there's a good chance that Dave Grohl has influenced you in some way.
Yeah.
And honestly, I mean, beyond that, I mean, if you play rock music and you're a young person, I mean, Dave Grohl in general has probably influenced you, whether it be from Nirvana or Foo Fighters. So the fact that I have any connection to that, I mean, the reality is when I started playing drums, I never thought I'd do anywhere close to what I'm doing right now. So it's like being able to actually like place, like, I mean, that's what I do. I played Dave Grohl's drums. Like, that's crazy. Like, I mean, especially when I first started doing it, for sure, almost every night I would be like, damn, this is Dave Grohl's drum part. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah. And have you gotten to meet him yet?
I've met him a couple times.
Yeah, I figured just through the band and maybe playing some shows. I think I had pulled up before, but I might have put it away, where the guys were dancing when he did a local show here. He just seems like,
I was there, but I was outside when that happened.
Oh, okay. I was like, yeah, I was there. I didn't get on. That always happens to me on tour. They'll always take, the end of the tour photo or whatever. For some reason, every time they take it, I'm always somewhere else doing something, whether it be getting food or meeting up with a friend or doing something. And pretty much every tour I've been on, I haven't gotten to that end of the year photo.
What's funny is I had opportunities to meet him multiple times before I actually met him. Like, for instance, that show that you're talking about where Red Gold Green got on stage, there was a moment where it was for the Sonic Highways premiere.
Right.
For the DC episode. So, like, obviously Red Gold Green was featured heavily in that episode. So we're, like, watching it. And literally Dave Grohl was standing, like, not even an inch away from me, watching it, too, on, like, a different screen. And having a conversation with, I want to say, like, Red and Green or something, I think. And then by the time I realized he's there, I like turned and he's like walked off. And there's like multiple like occasions like that.
Right.
And then I finally got to meet him. And I mean, it's like somebody you already know. Like it wasn't even like an introduction really. It was just kind of like, hey man, let me tell you. And then it just like was a conversation. And then he was gone. And you're like, did that just happen? Like, what?
Was I dreaming? I notice on tour, especially when I meet people that I'm a fan of or people that I know in the industry, it kind of is like that. You can't be too pushy or anything. And usually half the time I'm working, so it is more. It's like it's not even an introduction. You're just like, hey, how's it going? Good to see you. You a big sports fan? You like soccer? Are you a football fan?
I mean, yeah.
Are you? You're a Washington football fan. I almost said the name wrong. How do you
I mean,
feel about that
whatever.
whole thing? Do you think it was time to change it?
Man, I'm a fan of the Washington team, so like
Yeah.
I don't care what they're called.
Yeah.
And I've never really cared, honestly.
Mhm.
Like for me, it's like if it's offensive to anybody, then change it. Like, well,
Yeah.
I don't even understand what the conversation is. Like, just change it.
If
Like,
you,
and also, because I'm such a fan of the team, we are ruining the legacy of that team anyway. So we need to like change the name. The Redskins can be what they were, which is a
Mhm.
great team for a period of time and then
Mhm.
not good, and then start over. Like that's probably in everybody's best interest.
yeah, no, I agree. It's funny. So I bring that up because I'm a Ravens fan, and sometimes I feel like Washington fans don't like Ravens fans. Like they think there's like a rivalry, but
Oh.
I love Washington. Like I would love to see a Beltway Super Bowl. Like that would be the coolest thing in the world for me.
Man, that would be dangerous. What it is, though, really what it is, because I got this too, man, and I don't know why, but there's a beef between DC and Baltimore. And
Do you think it's the
Baltimore-
Nationals thing?
No, I'm talking about just in general.
Yeah, that's what
Like,
I'm
I
saying.
don't know.
Yeah.
Are you a fan of The Wire?
Yeah, yeah,
Show?
yeah.
Okay. So you know how The Wire, obviously, it's based in Baltimore,
hmm
but they would always talk, trash about DC guys, and there's like,
Yeah.
even on that TV show, they recognize that there's a beef, and that's just like how it was. I went to high school at Fairmont Heights High School in PG County, and right on the DC line. So we just considered ourselves DC, and we were always like, "Yeah, man, fuck Baltimore." And I think that. So I think there's already this inherent beef, and then you add sports to it, and it's like, I don't know. But to be honest with you, most of the Washington fans I know don't really have beef with the Ravens. Like,
Yeah.
me personally, I have a lot of respect for that organization because they're good. They compete every year. And
Yeah.
we don't.
Well, that's another thing is that I feel really bad because in college I went to UMBC, so a lot of my friends are from PG County, DC, Virginia, and so there's a lot of Redskins fans, and they would always talk so much smack, and I'm like, I like you guys though. I don't. We don't. It's not like a Steelers Ravens rivalry or like a Bears or like a Redskins Cowboys rivalry. You know what I mean? Like to me, it's all love.
Well, it's not a rivalry at all because we suck. So I mean, in order for a rivalry to like matter, the teams need to be relevant. So like Pittsburgh, a Baltimore rivalry is like that's awesome because they're both always pretty much good. I mean, if anything, like Pittsburgh might have one down year, or Baltimore will have a down year, but then they like, get it together.
Yeah,
I mean the football team and the Cowboys rivalry, it's over. Like they both suck.
Yeah.
They haven't been relevant. I mean, Cowboys fans are super delusional, just like we are. I mean, none of us have won anything since the mid '90s. We never achieve anything, and they always underachieve. So it's like, Baltimore. I even joke that I might just become a Ravens fan. Like
well, I always think you can have an NFC team and an AFC team. I'm like, if you want to root for two teams, I don't think that's an issue. Yeah.
That could be my deal.
Yeah. Do you think they're ever going to be good as long as Dan Snyder is the owner?
It's tricky. Like I mean, my personal opinion is, I wish he'd sell the team. However, I will say this: I think he's tried. Like I think a lot of people give him like a bad rap because they don't think he's trying to win, and I think he's trying. I just think that he let the culture get to a point where his own, I guess in a sense that, I guess in a sense it's like he's so rich that instead of being just like a fan, he's like, I'm just going to own the team.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a situation of like he doesn't want to win.
Mm-hmm.
He's just not a football mind.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
He has to like put his trust in other people to make a team, and he just hasn't done a good job of picking like those people. That's what I would say about him. So maybe Ron Rivera is that guy, and things turn around. But I mean, I've seen this story happen many times.
Right. That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping because I mean the fact that he even hired Ron Rivera and then gave him so much, leeway to do what he felt was best for the team. I'm hoping because I'm hoping like the Orioles were horrible for so many years. Now we were great in the '80s or like late '70s or whatever. But that's why I feel Washington football team fans pain because I went through it with the Orioles and we had horrible ownership and they wouldn't kind of let people do their jobs. And now we're just finally starting to get, to the point where we might kind of be relevant again. Or we had a couple good years, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, but then nothing ever came from that.
I mean, I used to go to Orioles games back in the day.
They're fun. I'm like iffy with baseball because I feel like it's more of a social event. I go there for more of the social aspect than the actual thing, but I do love baseball.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think going to a baseball game is about the atmosphere more so than the game. I can't remember many I remember like the experience of going to the games more than I remember the game itself.
Yeah. No, same.
But I could probably say that for any sporting event I've been to be fair.
Oh, yeah. No, that's true. I guess maybe sometimes Ravens or football games not. I'm always paying attention because the tickets are so expensive that anytime I get to go, I'm like, okay, I'm paying attention. I'm not like out in the stands or meeting up with friends. But yeah, man, fantasy football and football saved me this year with COVID because I was about to go out of my mind for a little bit. Something I notice, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but just as a touring crew member, anytime I go to a show now, I'm not necessarily listening to the show. I'm like watching the tech. I'm watching the sound guy. I'm watching what the different things are doing. And when I've seen you guys, like this might just be the 311 crews, but every time I've seen you guys, I feel like you guys do a lot of your own work. You put in the effort, and you're like, we don't necessarily need. Now, I'm sure some of it might be financial, some of it might be other things, but I don't think people realize how hard touring is. But I have a lot of respect that I see, like, I don't know. I just feel like I've seen you guys set up your stuff, like at the Frozen Harbor and stuff like that, or certain shows. And some bands kind of look at that as like, oh, well, we're too good for that. But it's not even like a too good a thing. It's just like, hey, we're willing to put in the work. Why pay someone else to something we can do ourselves? And it could also, again, be logistics. Do you guys have a touring crew, or do you do a lot of that stuff yourself?
Well, this would be a perfect opportunity because I got to shout this dude out because I just give him such a hard time, and we all do, but we love this guy. But I got to shout out Kevin Montiel, who's our front of house guy and tour manager, and really everything. Like that dude does everything.
Right.
So really to answer the question, it's us and him on the road. Right. That's it. So all the setup that happens is really him, man. Like he sets like everything up, man.
That's crazy.
We'll unload, and some days like everybody helps. Some days it's maybe it's just me or whatever. It varies.
Right.
But for the most part, man, it's Kevin, man. That dude sets everything up. He he runs the sound. He does all the like advances. He drives like pretty much all the time. I mean, that dude's awesome, man.
Wow. Shout out to Kevin.
Shout out to Kevin, man, for real. I mean, dude, even drum teching, man. Like, after shows, I'll just leave, and he just packs everything up. And I'm like, this guy's awesome.
Wow. Well, if he ever needs help, let him know I'm available to take some sweat off his back if you guys ever need an extra crew. It's hard to do TM and merch because you got to be everywhere. You can't always be behind the desk. But if I got my sound and engineering degree see, I know sound and I can do local live gigs. But if it came down, doing touring and live sound is a completely different beast. You got to be on top of your game because it's live. So if something goes wrong, you need to be able to backtrack. You need to know different consoles and different things like that so you can make sure that the band sounds great. But yeah, I'm trying to get back into that because I feel like being able to do like Kevin does, the sound and the tour managing, you can pretty much get a job with a lot of different bands as opposed to just having one singular thing that you do.
I think in a perfect world, I mean, Kevin would just do sound for us,
right?
And you get somebody else to also tour manage. But look, I mean,
right?
kind of to go back to the original question, I mean, really, it comes down to finances. Like, we could do tours where we rent a bandwagon or a bus or something like that, and then put all the money into that, and nobody comes home with anything.
Right.
So yeah, like that could happen. You could do that, and we could try to figure out a way to get guitar tech and a drum tech and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, it comes out of the money you're making. So for us, or at least for Red Gold Green, because they're basically my employer.
Yeah.
It just makes more sense to save the money on that stuff and put it towards, you know, like promotional material and things of that nature, and paying Kevin, you know, and just also the more people you have, I mean, the more personalities and stuff you got to deal with, and that's I'll be honest with you, that plays a part too. I mean, it's we've had people offer to tour with us even for free, and it's kind of like, yeah, but can we be in a van with that dude for 30 days, 40 days, you know? Like, and that's a thing too, man. I'm sure you know too, because I mean, you've done touring, and I don't know if you've been on those tours where there's this one guy that like everybody hates, and you know there's just nothing you can do. Like you wake up and every morning you see the same dude, and you're like, oh God, I want to kill this guy. Yeah,
it's bad enough you already have like fan punishers. If you have a crew member that's a punisher and is like punishing everyone and always getting on everyone's nerves. I feel like there's always that one guy, but I assume it's because I think a lot of people see the bright lights, they see the music, they want to do this, and they don't realize that it's a job. You know, they're like, well, who can I put on the guest list, or what chick can I hook up with after the show? And they don't realize, like, you know, we're here to work. That's what they're paying us for. So, you know, I'm pretty good. I always keep to myself. I'm quiet. I get the job done, you know, and then if I feel like people are down, I'll, like, you know, pump everyone up. But, I don't know. It's just different. I think I'm lucky that I've seen it, and I got worked into the industry slowly, where I got to see things and kind of know. So by the time I actually did get the full-time gig, I already knew what was up, and like knew how to, you know, be a pro and get the job done. Something that, so I appreciate you coming on my podcast. Do you ever watch Joe Rogan?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Did you see the Kanye West interview?
I haven't. Thing is, I don't know how I feel about Kanye anymore, man. So it's hard for me to listen to him because I don't know that anything he's saying is legitimate. Like, I don't know that, because some days I think he's crazy, and then other days I'm like, no, this guy's actually a genius, and he's really got us fooled. And I don't know what it is. And that's the genius of Kanye, I think, is the fact that he can go away and then he'll just say some outlandish thing, and then all the attention's on Kanye again. But no, I haven't seen it. I definitely want to watch that.
Yeah, I guess I won't give away too much, but in general, what you said is how I came out of it. Like, you know, there was a while where I hate when people use the term hating, but when I would criticize him for some, and rightfully so, he says some outlandish stuff. But then it got to the point when I saw a Kim Kardashian interview where she was like, you don't think I've tried to get him help? Like, you don't think I've tried to make him take his medicine? And I never thought of it like that. I always forget that there's that other side that we don't see, where we're sitting here just seeing him lash out, but then we forget that it affects his family, it affects his wife, it affects everyone. And she was like, you know, I've tried to get him help, and, you know, I can't force him to take his meds. And if he feels like it's kind of hindering his ability to be creative, you know, and obviously it works because he's sold a lot of records. So, like, who am I to necessarily say that? But it was funny because he is a fucking genius, dude. He was saying some legit stuff. Like, I went into it thinking I was going to come out of it thinking he was crazy still. And I came out of it thinking, if he could just hone in all the different thoughts in his head and have someone specifically work with him on each thought and not be so scatterbrained, the dude could be even bigger than he is now. I mean, basically one of the concepts that he kept preaching, and this is something that when I started the management company, I was trying to do maybe in different avenues. So my idea was an app. And basically it helps bands, artists, musicians take control of their finances, streamline everything, be able to set up tours, do other things. And his thought wasn't an app, but he was saying along those same concepts of how we're not out to take anyone's job. We're not trying to like take money away from agents, record companies, or anything like that. We're just trying to make the contracts more fair. I mean, there can't be this thing where the artists are always in debt to the record label. It has to be 30, 30, 30, or however, whatever the fair split is. And, the way he put it and the way he talked about it, I sat back and I was like, damn, Kanye, you know what you're talking about, but you are crazy. So I was hoping you had watched it because then we could get into it a little bit more. But yeah, no, I mean, he says some really smart things.
I mean, here's the thing. And yeah, I forgot about the whole mental health aspect of it too, because I think that's probably a big factor. I mean, and I always think about being in this business and like clearly I'm nowhere close to that famous. I mean, I don't even need to say that. But I've thought about like, what if I was that famous? Like, think about your life. Like, think about the fact that if you go to Target, everybody at Target knows you. Like, if you you just want to go to Five Guys, everybody at Five Guys knows who you are. Like, how do you live like that? And how does that play with your mind? Like, why do people like Prince become the way they are? It's because you get so famous. It's like you have to create this own alternate world around you.
Yeah, almost like a character.
Yeah, you can't exist in the normal real world as like Dave Grohl kind of can do that, and he's just figured out a way to be able to.
He's one of the only people that could do that, probably, right? Because he's just such a down to earth guy, and doesn't let all the hype kind of get to him. Whereas someone else would make a big deal about it. But if you go up to Dave Grohl and he doesn't make a big deal about it, he's just like, hey, and then walks away,
But I would argue that more people know Kanye than Dave Grohl too. So I mean,
that's true. Yeah.
Because if everybody knows Kanye, you don't have to listen to Kanye's music to know who Kanye West is.
Right.
I didn't really know who the Foo Fighters were until like 2000.
Right.
All I listened to was hip hop and R&B and like that kind of stuff.
Man, whatever happened to good rap, good R&B, and good stuff back in the day? I miss like Common, Nas, Tech Nine. There's, I like to tell a story, and then when all the mumble rap that's kind of when I got out of rap. I didn't listen to it as much, but I used to be a huge into rap. Yeah,
I mean, so I used to trash mumble rap, but I'll be honest, like, there's some good stuff out there. I mean, and there's some guys like, obviously Kendrick is great.
Right.
J. Cole is dope. There's countless other people, but I mean, I do like Migos. I like, I don't know, maybe that's the only one I can think of. Really, I mean, there's songs that I like. It's more so that there are songs I like than there is artists. Where it's like, and I think just because the way we listen to music is different, and the way people consume music today is vastly different than when we were kids. Like, where we would tape the radio and
oh my goodness,
cassette tape,
press play and record at the same time.
What I used to do, like, make my own mixtapes off the radio, wait for a song that I liked, record that song, that, you know what I mean, make mixtapes, and then obviously CD era came, and then we had that whole thing. But now it's really just, it's single based, right? For the most part, and everybody has like a hit song. That's kind of like what it comes down to. Like, I don't like all of 21 Savage's songs, but there are some 21 Savage songs that I think are good, and so forth. Yeah, same here. I think it's less. R&B doesn't exist anymore.
I know. What the heck? How has that not made a comeback? I feel like it goes in cycles.
I don't know if people just like aren't making love anymore. I don't know what's going on. But like, yeah, I love me a good 90s like slow jam, man. Like, I'm all about that.
Whatever happened to Brandy and all those type of people? Like, I don't even feel like they're doing music anymore. They're just like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Nah, they're just doing reality TV now.
Apparently.
That's what all the R&B singers do.
Since you're you had talked a little bit about joining the band and stuff. Do you find it difficult or different to, I guess not this year, but in general with tour, a balance of being in the band, making a living? You know, because like you said, sometimes it comes down to financial stuff. So it's like, well, do I have my own life? And then like when I'm off of the band, you know, how am I going to make a living kind of a thing? Have you gotten involved in other projects, I guess I should say, you know?
Well, so for me, I'm pretty fortunate because I have another job that I do. So I teach.
Okay, yeah, cool.
At a music school, and we have a rock school program. So I teach in the rock school program. So
that's really cool.
All of the instructors, for the most part, are touring musicians at this particular school. We're like a one-off location. And the guy who owns it, I don't know, you may have heard of this band, but he was the drummer in a band called Virginia Coalition.
Yeah, it sounds familiar. I couldn't name a song, but...
So they were kind of a big local band back in like the early 2000s, I guess. And they've done some tours and like some, not 311 cruise, but like cruises like that. You know, and I think they've done like some opening for the Roots and things like that. So anyway, he's been a touring drummer, so he understood like, you know, I want to do a music school, but I also want to make it a situation where I have touring musicians, because it's how are you going to do a rock school if you don't have credible people teaching at your rock school? You know, like some other rock schools, it's like some 50-year-old dude who maybe played in like one local band and starts a rock school. Right. But you know, one of my co-workers he's toured Europe numerous times, is played in a metal band that was like really huge in Europe. And then like another guy's from South America, and he's toured all over the world with the group that he manages and plays guitar in. So it's like all the teachers are pretty like legit. So I have that, and he's cool about us touring, and so when I'm not on the road with Red Gold Green, that's what I do. That's awesome. Cool. I've always wanted to be a teacher. I just don't know if I would be a good one, you know, because you really have to kind of put yourself in the other perspective and really give your time so people can kind of learn. I feel like I see a lot of the School of Rock stuff, but I don't even know if that's like, you know, are you going to learn like the industry, you know, or is it really just like, you know, a company that's making money off of, you know, giving lessons? So that's kind of one of the things that I've always struggled with as well, as far as like trying to become a teacher. Well, it's interesting that you say that, because that's what's unique about what we're trying to do at our school, because we actually want to do that kind of stuff. Like, so again, one of my coworkers who's a teacher there, he also is an A&R for a record label that does like metal releases. That's cool. So he's pretty plugged into the industry, and all the bands that we form in this school are like actual legit bands. So like it'll be like 4 or 5 members. Some of them continue on even after they leave rock school and start going to college. We have several bands that are still playing today. That's cool. And some of those bands we help them with like putting out music and like talk about merchandise, and some of them have put merchandise out and all that kind of stuff. So we try to. It's not just us like, hey, we're going to learn AC/DC. It's like, no, what do you guys want to play? And we're going to teach you how to do that. And not just how to play a song, but how to be in a band, like how to compromise, like how to take input from this person and use it and that kind of thing. It's like a whole fully encompassing like kind of experience. That's really cool, man. I don't know if they have anything, but if there's any way I can volunteer or help out and give some of my time, that'd be cool. A couple more things, and then I'll let you get out of here. I try to keep these to like an hour if possible, just so cool. Everyone can get on their days. If you could form a real band around a fictional musician, so it could be movies or whatever, TV, who would it be? So you're talking about a character that exists in a movie already? Yeah, just a fictional musician. You know, there's been comedies or serious movies, anything where the character isn't a real character, like isn't a real person. But if you could start a real band, you'd be like, oh, I'd use him in my real band if he was a real person. I got a great funny one. For me, it'd be Randy Watson.
Mm.
And for those who don't know, Randy Watson is the lead singer of Sexual Chocolate
Yeah.
and
Sexual.
Coming to America.
Yeah.
I would love to be the drummer in that project.
That would be hilarious. I tried to think of someone because I was like, well, if I'm asking the question, I got to have my own, and I could not think of one forever. But I saw that question posed differently for someone. That's a good one, Randy Watson. Yeah. Up until 2020 actually hit, how cool did you think it was going to be? Like up until it actually came and everything happened, like, did you think like 2020 is going to be my year? Like we're going to do a lot of touring and we're going to do all this stuff.
I mean, I'll keep this as brief as possible. But like, for Red Gold Green, 2020 was without going into too much detail about what we were going to do, was a huge year. And I'll just say this as it relates to COVID. What's interesting is we had a tour booked in March. And basically, we had shows booked basically March, April, May. We had a bunch of festivals in the summer. And March 11th, we go up to New York. And we went up a day early because we were going to do some, like, stuff. Like, I don't know, some press stuff or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the next day was the 12th, which was the first show of the tour. And that was also the day that the World Health Organization declared coronavirus like a pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of canceled the tour before that. Our manager was there in New York with us, and we were just like, you know what, man, it isn't worth touring. Like we're just gonna go home. And they're kind of like, everybody was trying to talk us into just, well, let's just do the show tonight and see what happens. And we were kind of like adamant, like, no, we're not gonna do that. And then several hours later, the NBA cancels all their games.
Mm-hmm.
The NHL, MLS, like all the leagues start shutting down. Then Live Nation announced that all of their venues were closing. And so that's initially, obviously, it was a bummer. But then as more information came out, we started realizing like, oh, this festival is now canceled and this show is not going to happen. I mean, dude. I'll put it to you this way. I had the opportunity to see Rage Against the Machine like 3 times.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Now I'm not going to be able to see them.
Oh. I'm lucky I got to see them at, you remember HF Festival?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Oh, man. I got to see them that one year. They played right before they broke up. I think they broke up like later that year or something like that. And yeah, that is a bummer. There's a lot of cool festivals that were going to happen this year. Oh, just as a fan.
We were playing Firefly.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, that's a great festival.
The same day as Rage, same stage.
How insane is that? Bands that you grew up, you're like, I'm playing the same stage as Zach De La Rocha.
That was the ultimate.
Yeah.
I mean, I've gotten to play with some pretty cool people. Like, I mean, Method Man is one of my favorite rappers of all time, and I've got to meet him multiple times and play. I mean, he's incredible. But to meet like Rage for me would be like, well, it'd be up there.
The Ballyhoo guys got to meet Tom Morello once, and I was like, damn, that'd be pretty cool. That would be pretty cool. Yeah,
a conversation with him must be interesting.
I know along those lines.
I hope he's cool.
You know what? I would assume. I would like to think that most artists are, and maybe you catch them on a bad day. Because I know how it is. Like sometimes you just don't want to talk to someone. You've been driving for 8 hours. You didn't get to take a shower last night. You got to set up and get ready before the show. So I get it. But I would like to think that most people are nice. I have met a couple jerks, but that's just how it is. I
think the important thing, real quick, is what you just said. Is sometimes people just have to understand, like. Some people, like these guys, get asked the same questions over and over again, and all that kind of stuff. And every night, fans always want to come up and talk, and that's cool. But just understand that some nights, it may not be. Everybody's human. Like musicians are human, and they have bad nights, and maybe they have something going on in their personal life that's serious. I mean. Relationship issues, like they have the same problem. So like just keep that in mind. If you meet somebody and you're like, that guy's an asshole, maybe that day was just a bad day,
Yeah, exactly. I try not to, just as a merch guy too, I try not to talk down about fans, but I say it in trying to educate kind of a way, to say, hey, look, you might see the 2 hour show, but you don't realize how much effort went into just those 2 hours. You know, like half the time since I'm first in, last out, I don't even get to eat. You know, if we're running late or something like that, I got to set up the merch and then we're going, you know, as soon as doors are open. So I'm usually sitting back there. So, you know, yeah, people, you know, just remember again, I don't know if it's social media or if it's our society or just different things or humans. I don't know where it came from. You know, maybe because we're a little bit older and we grew up when we had technology, but I would never call someone or text someone or hit them up on social media. I would just go over to their house, knock on the door, and we'd go play soccer or basketball or something like that, you know? Along those lines, you said you got to play Fire. Well, what was the coolest festival or band you've gotten to play with? And while we're talking about that, how cool have those 311 cruises? You guys have done a couple of them now, and how cool are those things?
Well, first of all, just to correct you, we've done 311.
Oh, you're right. Holy crap, man.
I think we are one of 2 bands or something that have done that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're the only band that did 3 straight.
You are. Yep.
If I'm not mistaken. So.
My bad. That, you know, I'm so ashamed that I didn't get that right because I knew that. I knew that too. Yeah.
No, obviously 311 cruises are incredible. I mean, there's so many. It's like I said, like a lot of the stuff that we've gotten to do, I never thought I would do.
Mm-hmm.
So like, obviously, like playing with like Red Rocks with Method Man and Redman, and
it's crazy.
That was insane.
Mm-hmm.
Playing RFK Stadium with Foo Fighters and LL Cool J and Joan Jett and Hart and Buddy Guy and who else was at that show? Gary Clark Jr. and
he's amazing.
That was, I would have to say that would probably be the biggest show I've ever done. Not just size of the crowd, but also like the artists. I mean, like maybe a lot of people may not get excited about hearing like Heart, but for me, like I thought they might have been the best band in that whole show. They were so on point. Like,
yeah.
And I always like as a musician nerd, I geek out on like that kind of stuff too, like how good bands are live, and you know,
yeah,
similar to like how you were talking about how you look at text and stuff. Like I'm very much in tune with like, you know, what gear people are using
mm-hmm.
and like and that kind of stuff. And but yeah, that for sure would be like probably my musical highlight.
I love when you go to see a band, like you said, and maybe you're not even expecting much, and then they turn out to be amazing. I went and saw, when I was really young, I was probably about 14 or 15, I went and saw Lenny Kravitz, and I think I went to go see the opening band. I wasn't even really there for him, but that band never came around. Man, did he crush it, dude. He was so good. Probably one of the best concerts I've ever seen was Lenny Kravitz, just crushing it on the guitar.
Oh, yeah, I believe it.
Well, I got a couple. Well, I'll do it real quick just because I have you here, and then we'll get out of here. I got a couple DC facts. I always like to get a couple facts or like things from people in their area. Did you know that we have more wine per capita than any U.S. state here in DC? And do you drink a lot of wine?
I didn't know about the wine per capita thing, but I have like phases where I'll drink wine.
Yeah, same. Not a huge fan, but if someone hands it to me, I'm not going to say no. You know? No,
but I'll go through phases where I like want wine and I'll drink wine. But I don't typically drink much at home, so.
Have you
I've
ever
been pretty sober?
Yeah, right. Yeah. You know what? I can't do tequila just because spring break when I was in college, I drank so much of it that just the smell of it now, and I love it. I'm sure there's nothing wrong with it. Have you ever seen did you know that there was a Darth Vader head on the National Cathedral?
No.
Isn't that crazy? I had no clue. I've grown up here my whole life, and on the like church or the cathedral, I guess they had done Darth Vader's head on one of the pillars.
Huh.
Like
I grew up going to a soccer camp at St. Albans School, so I was like always around the cathedral.
Yeah.
I never heard that or noticed it or anything. That's crazy.
And I can't imagine it was done, you know, when they built it, because I would assume that was back in the day. So it had to have been more of a recent thing that someone redid it at some point, but maybe not. I don't know. It's weird. Did you know that it was missing J Street? It has every other letter but J.
I think I heard that before, but yeah.
If we had longer, dude, I would get into this whole conspiracy aliens thing because I'm huge into some of those things, and there's so many different DC landmarks and just cool underground stuff that
I've looked at maps of the grid and all that. I mean, you asked about Joe Rogan, so I mean, I definitely listen to a lot of stuff like that. I'm more interested in those conversations about like aliens and early life and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm with you, man. I could definitely.
We'll have to have you back on at some point in the future, and we'll just talk aliens or something instead. Yeah, the next one was like underground tunnels. I've actually seen a couple. I think they have some tours, and I was watching something where they're showing like all the different things. It's just scary to think about how much stuff is going on in America, or the black parts of government that we don't know about. It's just like everyday shit.
Oh yeah, there's stuff going on that defy what we understand. Trust me.
And then lastly,
the alien thing too, man. I like it's funny because I used to be so not about that. I used to be like, oh, there's no way that there's aliens or any of that kind of stuff. And now I am so certain that they exist, and I know people who've had encounters that are very credible sources.
Right.
That and yeah. Not to get too crazy over here, but
no, we could
I could go all day on that kind of stuff.
We'll have to have you back on because that's literally I've been dying to have someone like I'll talk about. It's the Just Josh podcast, so I try to have stuff that I'm interested in. I'll start going off on an alien tangent. I'll look up at the screen and I'll see the person I'm talking to just staring into the ceiling because they're not interested in it. The last thing is that all of the roads. Oh, there's a spy museum. Have you been to it yet? That sounds dope.
I haven't. In fact, I just was driving down 395 like a few days ago, and I saw the like huge spy
sign,
museum, like marquee or whatever.
Yeah, and then all the roads actually do lead to the Capitol building, which is kind of cool. Like directly, not even like indirectly through another road. Like I guess if you look at the map, they all go to the center. And I'm always curious why they did it that way. Like what back in the day was the reason for that? I mean, I guess back in the day you didn't have as many roads, so it has to lead there. It's the Capitol, but
I mean, it's also if you get to the conspiracy theories, there's also a theory about how it aligns with like the stars, and it's an astrological like formation.
Right.
Like there's like some stuff, man. But it's crazy. Like if you pull up the grid, like if nobody's ever done this, if you just like go to Google Earth and you zoom out of DC, like that grid pattern is insane. I've looked at other cities too, or other spots. There's nothing like it. Nothing even close. New York is just a grid, like squares. Most cities are like that. This doesn't make any sense.
0 sense. See, I think it's all the stuff underground that we don't see. There's got to be other stuff.
It's geometrically perfect too, which is the other thing about it that's
on Google. It's perfect. Like there's no way. Like how do you get it like that? I'm getting too excited about this now.
I'm telling you, there's stuff going on that you're just learning.
All right. Well, shit, dude, this was a lot of fun, man. And I feel like we were just getting started too. So we'll definitely have to do something in the future. Do you guys,
yeah, that's cool.
Is there anything else that you guys have going on or coming up that you can share with us that any of the fans might be able to get excited for?
I mean,
not really. Not until touring starts again.
Well, the thing is, like, a lot of the time, I'll find out stuff, like, the same time everybody else does.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
Like, shows. Like, people hit me up, like, oh, you guys are playing. And I'm like, I didn't know that we were doing that. But, I don't know. I talked to, like, me and Gold or Andre. We go fishing, like, pretty regularly. So,
oh, that's dope.
So I guess went fishing last week, and we were talking a little bit about the band, because we don't really even talk about the band that much. And, and all I can say is there's going to be new music coming out.
That's cool.
That for sure is happening.
Yeah. You have a new album, I think I saw a post for, right? Coming soon. And then you just dropped 2 singles over the summer.
Yeah. So 2 singles came out. Yeah. There's like potentially an album coming out. As far as performances, I'm not sure what we have in store for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking to Green, and he brought up maybe the possibility of doing something. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole, with this COVID era, we got to figure out ways to be active, and I think bands you're just gonna start seeing a lot of live stream stuff and just creative ways of doing shows.
That's
so
cool.
I think we're very much gonna, hopefully next year, in some capacity, we'll try to figure out some creative way of doing like a performance.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on, man. I appreciate you spending some time with me. We'll have to get together sometime once it's a little safer, when we can get over and go hit up Javier's joint, because he's got some banging food.
Yeah, right on.
Really good food. All right. Well, have a great day, man. Thank you for coming on. We'll definitely talk soon.
All right. Thanks, bro.
Yep.